This
There we go.
conference will now be recorded.
There you go. It's official. So I'm going to start just by giving a bit of an introduction and outline to what I want to go through today. And then I'll kick on my screen, and this will be hands-on demo, real-world stuff in an active ShulCloud site. So first of all, introductions. Those of you who identified yourself in the chat, thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I appreciate your time very much, so I hope to pack it in and use it wisely. My name is Ozzy Rosenblum. I am the founder and CEO of a company called ShulSource, which has a division called ShulSource. So ShulSource is our synagogue back office related division that focuses primarily on congregations and synagogues and organizations using the combination of ShulCloud and QuickBooks. Doesn't have to be both. Certainly the ShulCloud side we can help with, but one without the other is okay too. And today's demonstration I'm doing to help. I love to help. I like to meet folks, and I always think it's just it's a good way to do business and live life by just putting some value out into the world and helping people out. So that's what I do. I try to throw these webinars and tips and information out there for people as often as possible. And it's like every other model. If you like the way it tastes, you'll come back for more. So I'm happy to give you some free value, and if we can do anything else for your congregation, please let me know. We offer a full suite of outsourcing solutions, from very basic tasks to the entire financial department, whatever it is your organization is struggling to keep up with or needs some help with. Short-term, long-term, migrations, cleanup, whatever you got, we'll take care of it. So that's it for station identification. I promise not to sell you for the full session. That's it, we're done. I am going to mute everyone just so we don't get any background noise and for the quality of the recording. Hopefully I haven't muted myself, so Crystal, give me a thumbs up if I'm still audible. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to tee up the conversation from a planning standpoint. You're here because you have some questions about batch billing. I'm going to cover everything from folks that have never used it before to folks that want to use it better. In concept, the idea of batch billing is that whenever you have a financial activity that you need to bill in ShulCloud, which has uniformity, you're trying to hit a whole bunch of accounts at once. This is not just for dues. This is valuable for other pledges, for other programs, for other assessments, for anything where you're trying to hit a large group of people at one time, where the basic premise is that by doing the batch billing process, you will save time and create efficiency and be able to get more done. And that's where you want to utilize the batch billing. So just, important from the get-go that I not box anybody into thinking that this is just for dues. I would argue that any time that you have more than 20 bills to create, possibly even less, if they're the same, rock and roll. Now, what we'll get into is some of the power behind the batch billing process, which is built on things like tags, account types, account billing types. And that's where you can leverage some system information to make this go even faster, grouping people together with certain identifiers within their accounts that can be utilized within the batch billing tool to pull them in and say, every single one of the people that qualify for this search, hit them for $500, or whatever the amount is. And I do sometimes talk a little fast, so if you guys think I need to slow down, unmute your mic and yell at me. If you have a question, throw it in the chat, talk to me. This is, I don't want to talk at you, I want to do this with you guys. So what I want to do is I want to walk through the tool top to bottom. Obviously, right now, the simulation and the concept is going to be all about dues, but keep remembering that this can be done for anything. And I'll try to touch along the way on some of the organizing layers of some of the data within your ShulCloud data that can be used to harness this tool's power in other situations. So with that, I'm going to kick on my screen, and we are going to share the homepage for Congregation Ohel Moshe, which is a real congregation right here in Baltimore that I happen to attend and be one of the founding trustees and board members of. So we've been on ShulCloud since like their second or third year. We were, I think, one of the first 50 or 100 to join the platform. That's part of what built this relationship and expertise with ShulCloud. But let's just dive right into it. And we're going to start with the batch billing screen itself. So in your admin function menu, and I'll go back, sometimes this requires a little zoom for demos, so I'm going to oversize my screen so it's visible to everybody. In your admin menu, you've got this trusty little button called batch billing. That will take you, of course, to the batch billing screen. We've got a whole bunch of history in here because we use it on a regular basis, but we're going to work from a blank today. And I want to walk you through, and I will kind of like jump off into the database and show you where some of these things are along the way. But I'm going to walk you through every single layer of this screen. It might look confusing and overwhelming at first glance, but it's really, really streamlined, and it's really, really very powerful. So working from the top, and I'm going to peek over and look at the chat screen every once in a while. I think we're good. Toronto, hello. Yep, looks like we're good. Great. So up top, batch name. This is a completely internal name. Doesn't show up on anybody's accounts. It is for yourselves only so that you can quickly identify it, because one of the things that you can do, you may have noticed in that first place I went to when I hit batch billing, is you can clone these things. So some of your repetitive, ongoing, whether it's monthly or annually, settings can be retained by cloning. So for instance, we're going to do full membership dues 2020/21. Okay, that'll be today's simulation. The next thing that you need to choose is whether this is a single amount or it's based on account billing types. There is, and this is where I'm gonna jump off into a tangent. And again, I'm focused on dues right now, so these are going to be the two options that we're going to talk about. Within the system, in every single account record, you have, go into an account, yes, leave, sorry, I accidentally created a clone. We are going to pull up Ozzy Rosenblum. Not going to use anybody else's account as a demo. They probably would get mad if they saw this on the internet. All right, so when you hit edit account, inside of any member's account, you have a number of tabs here. And one of them is the financial tab. Within this financial tab is where you would, on an account by account basis, set potential overrides. And I'm jumping to the overrides first because I want to talk about all the things that control some of the settings here. So I've gone a little out of order. This is where you can set some of the overrides. So if there is a adjustment necessary, income related, or volunteerism related, there's a lot of different scenarios where somebody is in a membership level, a giving level, but is only paying a portion of it. So if that is a percentage-based discount, you would use this field, for example, for 50%. If it's an override amount, then you would just put the override amount in here. And then you would save and commit that to the account record. That becomes the building block for the checkboxes that are down here. And I know I went out of order. That's because I saw that tab first and I kind of skipped to it. But getting back to what we were looking at up here, which is the account billing type, within the accounts, of course, you also have the account type, which is one method of organizing your membership list. And there are a lot of different reasons that people take different approaches to their account types. Some people have just member, and there within they define associate, gold level, platinum level, all that stuff through the billing types. Some people have it up on this level. The other drill down would instead be handled in people's account billing type, okay? And that's over here. So on that same financial tab, we happen to not utilize the account billing type, but you can create account billing types in your lists section. So, again, I try not to give you all, when I do these webinars, I try not to give partial information. I want to demonstrate every layer of this. So we're going to keep kind of like drilling away from that batch billing screen, because I want you to know how to do everything that leads up to the ultimate solution here. So when you go into your admin menu again, provided that you have access to this level of permissions, you will go into My Lists, and that is where you control a whole lot of awesome settings in ShulCloud, including your account billing types. Now, as you saw on the screen before, we only have in good standing, not in good standing, things which were system loaded. But instead, what you can do is you can create your affiliate, or your single family member, or your single parent, or your over 60, newlyweds, just joined, whatever it is that you've got. You can create all these billing account types, and you can put in here a batch bill amount. Now, I happen to, as a best practice, not recommend necessarily utilizing this, because this is a setting that you'd have to make dozens and dozens of times for one grouping. Again, I'm all about the efficiency. Instead, what I want to recommend that you do is that you utilize this account billing type section to organize your data. Because if you put all your groups into the system, and we, again, imagine a world where you have account type member, And then within each and every one of these accounts, you've assigned people a billing type. Then when we go back to the batch billing screen, what you can do is you can say full members, $1,800 a year. How am I going to find all those full members? By their account or account billing type. Okay. And then, of course, well, I'm going to skip to the bottom because I want you to see how this works. Then down here at the bottom, just like when you use the mail system, you can start drilling down on who it is that you want to include in this particular batch. So we can specify by account type, which is that top layer. If we've gone with a model where we're saying that we're just going to call everybody a member, so obviously this is not the way we want to group everybody together at $1,800 because there's different rates within the membership. Instead, we're going with account billing type. And again, in my congregation, we don't have that in place, but were I to save this account billing type, which we would call, let's say, affiliate member, you'd then be able to select affiliate member and it would pull everybody in. In our synagogue, we happen to use the account types. So I will go ahead and simulate for you the affiliate members, okay? But it would work the same way. We're organizing by affiliate member. This automatically updates and it says we have 58 matching accounts. You can just continue and proceed from there, or you could hit review and edit selection. It will populate the 58 account names and you'll be able to look them over and just, you know, if you have that close of a handle on your membership, you'll be able to visually cross-check it and be like, oh, wait 1 second, that person moved away and said they needed to cancel, or that person upgraded or downgraded, or, you know, had a death in the family or whatever changes. You have the opportunity to review. So, you know, we skipped down to this because of this question up here, but let's work again from the top. So this is purely, I see a couple of people joined us since we started. So, you know, in the batch billing tool, which you can get to through the admin section and hitting batch billing, first thing you have when you create a new batch is the batch name, which is an internal organizing, you know, type of thing. It's just for the list. Then you have your amounts, and we can either pull the amounts from the account billing type, or we can just choose a single amount. In this case, we're saying that we're going to work off of the account types. So I'm putting $1,800 in there. I'm saying single amount. You're selecting your charge type, which, you know, again, there's a number of different routes that people take with the way that they organize their charge types. Some people have one fee, one charge type that they use for all membership fees. And, you know, here we just decide how much, and others have designated a different type of membership fee charge type for each and every layer. So let's assume this was the affiliate and it was $600 a year. We would then move on to charge description. This will be in the note description of every single line that is created by this batch process and every single account that subsequently gets hit with this charge. So whatever your descriptor is, it can look just like this if you want, but it is, you know, it's that thing that shows up on the statement and shows up on their bills. Charge type, a charge date, of course, is your ability to control the date. Many of us are getting ahead. We're looking at a 7/1 billing date, so you're going to want to put that in as 7/1. If you're billing now for now, go for it. It doesn't matter. If you're billing now for 6/1 and getting this email about batch billing has been the blessing you've been waiting for because you're already 17 days behind on your new dues year billing, then you can go ahead and backdate them to 6/1. Does not really matter. Now, when it comes to the due date, the due date is an area that I like to highlight because it really has to do with some of your internal practices. If you actually want a due date to show up on people's statement, which some people find like a little attacking, that's a sensitivity that I would just make you aware of to decide whether you want to leave this blank because it is not a required field, or whether you actually want to fill in a due date, whether it's immediate or whether it's the end of the fiscal year. You know, I'll leave it to you. But the important thing is to remember that whenever you run statements, it's going to say, here's your charge from 7/1, which was due on 7/1. You know, if you typically give people the full year to pay at their own pace, you're going to want to be careful with that because, you know, people don't like to be told that they're overdue on something that's not technically due till the end of the year. So you can leave it blank, or you can set it out to the end of the fiscal year, or if it's actually due in advance, go ahead and go for it. But just realize that it's going to carry through to all of your accounts receivables reports and all of your statements, and it's going to show up as a thing. Now this, very nuanced, but something to be aware of as well, this little checkbox. Depending on your billing practice, some folks have a quarterly billing. Some people are billing on a monthly basis. Some people, I mean, theoretically, could be billing on a weekly basis. You know, totally up to you guys. And remember, the reason this option is here is because this can be used for anything. So if the board makes a decision that we are assessing every active member a $100 a month building campaign fee that's for the next 50 months, you could do that here. And you could put in $5,000 and you could say that it's split up into 50, and it'll load those $100 bills on every single one of those accounts that qualify on a monthly basis. But working again with the membership dues concept, which is the topic of the day, if, for example, you have a quarterly billing process, by doing this, what you're telling the system to do when you complete and actually push through the create batch charges is to take this amount and to split it up into 4 quarterly payments based on this invoice date. So it's going to roll 3 months and create a quarter of the total on every single subsequent quarter. So, just something for you to be aware of in case that happens to be your practice. If, however, you're with the more traditional practice of billing the full amount at the beginning of the dues membership year, and it's all about payment plans and pay it as you go or pay it right away, then obviously you would leave this unchecked to bill the full amount on the date that we are keeping in this billing date, which is more likely to be something like 7/1 or 6/1. And then just circling back, for those of you that arrived a few moments late, these checkboxes are super important because without turning them on, you will not have the benefit of some of the member account level overrides that you may have set along the way in the financial tab of a specific member. So if a member has had a dues arrangement, a discount, whether it's percentage based or dollar amount override based, by checking off these boxes, you're applying those discounts to this batch. If you don't check them off, then they will get billed the full amount with everybody else. And you'll have to catch that manually. Now, as we move along, this happens to be an interesting feature. I don't see a lot of people using it, but it's a huge network with hundreds of synagogues, so I'm sure there are. But it's something to be aware of. It's a cool thing, and if it's not part of your practice right now, just be aware it's a function that the software can support. If you wanted to create some sort of membership drive that was based on people being newlyweds and try to encourage new couples into your congregation, you have a way here, which is again based on good data in your membership level accounts. So in people's in personal demographics, I'm not gonna, but there's a wedding anniversary date that you put in the system. So the system's going to reference that, and anybody that qualifies based on being within 24 months, 12 months, 36 months, whatever you decide is your practice. But if you want to pull in new households, you could do that here, and you could say 25% off for the first 3 years of your marriage. So it's a cool thing, and it's a feature to be aware of in case it's not a current practice, but something that you think could help. This is an important accounting decision that you have to make, and the choice here with this dropdown, which is if using discount, is a matter of whether or not you are recording these discounts. Do you want to see somebody get billed the full amount and then be allocated a discount? And do you want them to see that? Or do you simply want to change the amount? This has ramifications from a sensitivity standpoint, of course, but also from an accounting standpoint. Because if you want to be able to run a report on how much you have adjusted, how much you have forgiven, and how many overrides and discounts you're applying to membership or, again, anything that you're batch billing, then you can't do that unless you put some sort of relationship between that discount and an actual entry. So if you leave it as no reversal discount actual charge amount, then that means if somebody was overrided to $100 instead of $6, you'll have $100 charged. You'll have another $100 in that income category when you run reports based on what you billed, but you'll have no record of having forgiven the $500. However, if you make a choice here, and these choices as well, reversal types, back in this super powerful place in your ShulCloud site, which is your My Lists, one of the choices is reversal types as well. And this is where you can create something meaningful for yourself for the report so that you can subsequently run a report and say, how much did we run in dues reversals? Or how much did we run in preschool discounts? Whatever the application is, it's an important choice that you make regarding whether or not you want visibility, but it's counterbalanced with the fact that that visibility is also visible to the member. So if you feel like them seeing $1,800 on their ledger written down to 100 is going to make them feel terrible, then you may want to take the no reversal route Or if you feel like there are certain situations where where you want that to happen, but for the most part it's acceptable to track the change, then apply one of these reversal types and maybe manually override that one or two accounts. That's something that I always try to remind people. You can't get too committed sometimes to a solution. So if the batch billing process saves you 98% of the work, but you still have a couple things to tweak, you're still way ahead. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to keep good notes on your process and make sure that you apply it accurately and consistently throughout the years. And then, this is another area where, depending on what it is that you're billing, you can utilize more system information to create more rules and nuances within this billing process, which is skip. It may be because you have a policy that board members, for their volunteerism, and for being active board members that year, don't pay their dues that year. Or, the Gabby volunteer, every week, every day, possibly, they're out there, sweating it for the congregation. We're not really going to bill them for membership. Whatever your tag is, if you add these tags, which once again, I jump to my lists, one of the most powerful places in your ShulCloud site, you have your tags list. So you can create tags lists for all kinds of things, including board members, volunteers, whatever it is. And you can utilize those tags to create a skip rule in here so that those folks, even though they qualify for every other reason, they are in a membership account type, or they have a certain tag, or they are members of a certain billing account type, even though they're in there and they would come up in the results, they wouldn't actually get billed. And then finally, as you kind of look things over, again, you have the choice to review the people that matched. I'm going to throw this up on the screen, a whole bunch of names. Wonderful. It's just samples. And then you create batch charge. Now, everybody's always scared to click, right? So a couple things I'll remind you of. First of all, like good software developers, just when you had the courage to click, they built another opportunity for you to click again. All right, so you'll click it, and if you're like, oh no, I forgot something, or I spotted a name here, oh, the Rosens, they moved to New Jersey, let's take them out of there, you have the opportunity to fix that. Next, even after you have the courage to build this, right? Because here I am in a live Shul website with real data. These are actually our members, and I'm just like throwing a party in here for this webinar. You have the rollback button, okay? The rollback button is amazing. So, it finalizes the process. It tells you 58 charges. Hopefully nobody's in the system right this very moment trying to pay their bill. Otherwise, we might make a couple bucks on this demo for congregational Moshe. But when you do click here and you see a list of all the $600 transactions that I just clicked, I can just roll them back. They're gone. So don't be terrified. Don't be afraid to experiment. One of the questions that I do often get from folks is, it's a live database. We don't want them to see it. We have multiple charges that we need to put together. Obviously, it's not always as simple as dues assessment. You're done. Here's your $1,800 bill. There are security fees, and there are building fees, and there are all kinds of other potential layers to the charges that you are adding to your member accounts on the first of the fiscal year. So to that, I would say two things. Number one, as much as we all want to think that everybody's hitting refresh on their ShulCloud site, desperately looking for opportunities to pay their bills to the congregation, I'm not sure that that's the case. Number two, there is no notification created by this batch billing process. Number three, if you are billing forward, please remember that the member experience often is defaulting to today and further back. So they might not even see, depending on your site settings, a 7/1 bill on 6/18. But most importantly, I would say, is that outside of just picking a good time, maybe an off time that, that isn't necessarily when people would be floating around in the site, you really just need to be okay. It's a live database, and it's all right. You're doing your work in there. I really don't think, because of the previous, mentioned reasons, that you have to worry too much about it, but you should get them done in a reasonable flow of time. So I wouldn't spread billing out over the course of 2 weeks. It's something you want to block an afternoon on, knock it out. If you have 6 or 7 or 10 different versions of the batch billing process that you need to get through, get them all done, get them loaded up, and then they'll be ready to rock and roll. Now, not the purpose of today's webinar. So, I've planned for about 30 minutes for the demo, and then I want to answer questions. But one other reminder, of course, since we're talking about the fact that nobody's received any notifications, so how do you let them know that you have added all these charges? So you basically have two options. Using the mail system, you can either run statements. If you are running statements, then I would remind everyone that since these charges may be front-loaded with a future date, you need to make sure that on the steps within the mail system for running statements that you are selecting those dates, and that the statement you're sending is through and including the date that these charges are loaded on. Number two, there's another billing option when it comes to mailers where you can be more specific on criteria, and you can say that you want to send a copy of an invoice to individuals matching certain parameters. So if you do have a very basic charge type and your membership billing is a very basic one and done, there's no other assessments in your billing, $600 to this level, $1,200 to that level, $1,800 to the other, and they're all called, dues charges. What you can do is you can use that other form of using the mail system to send just an invoice. For people that have an open charge type matching this charge type, billed within this time period. So you're honing in on, that 7/1 billing date for all of your dues charge types. And then it'll blast out with a customizable message, of course, a message with hot links that go back into the system so that they can pay or set up payment schedules. And then you're rocking and rolling. So those are your two options for communication. But one of my biggest FAQs on the batch billing thing is that, yes, absolutely do not worry. Hitting create batch does not fire off a whole bunch of invoice notifications to people, which in a multi-layered billing system where you've got assessments and other things to add, that would create a tremendous amount of confusion. So with that, this is the billing process at 10,000 feet. Hopefully that's new and instructive to some of you guys. And I'm happy to take questions. Turn off your mic, kick on your camera. How can I help? Or rather, unmute your mic. Okay, I must be good. Tatiana seems to have unmuted herself, but we still can't hear you, Tatiana. Are you trying to talk? Give me a message in the chat box. Okay. Anybody too shy to ask can certainly also ask in the chat box. If there's anything in the space of batch billing that I haven't covered that I can help you with, I'm happy to handle it. If it's if it's a layer or two off the mark, I'm happy to go there if it's related as well. Okay, quiet crowd. Oh, there's a question. Is there a form that you can use for batch billing? Beth, I'm not sure that I fully understand the question. Forms typically are used for member interaction. So for people to register for something or to sign up, or we use them for our membership forms. So the form itself, completion of a form, and if at some point, Beth, you want to unmute and maybe explain the question better so that I don't answer off the mark. The form itself should be designed to potentially create a bill. So if somebody's joining and at the end of that form, they've selected a radio button that's attached to a full membership dues charge type option, and it's set to bill $1,800, it could actually create the bill and have them start paying immediately. Sorry, no mic, no problem. I see you're adding information to include more information and include a link to their account. It's not coming together for me. So I'm going to keep working off of the theory of forms, and let's talk about a membership form. If folks complete a membership form, you build a public-facing membership form, and somebody has been attending, or just moved to town, discovered your congregation, and wants to join. It fill out all the demographics. Some people go crazy with those forms and have them filling in the name of the pets and everything. Other people keep it very basic because you can build a form in a way that it creates the member's account back in the back end of the ShulCloud system. Then there's the other optional layer, which is you can take the direction of we collect this information as a congregation and then we review it. And then we contact the member and we manually start adding stuff like what their membership level is, what their account type is, what their billing type is, any tags, filling in their personal information. Or some people go straight to checkout, that the form is designed in a way that it creates that first bill. They can leave it on their account, or you can force them to make a payment or to create a schedule. What happens next in the system is you typically will have to manually interact with that record to start adjusting it into different account types and things like that. The one thing that you can do, which is super awesome, is in the process of filling out a form, you can have people tagged. So if you want to run like a report, if you're not using email notifications, if you want a way to hone in or to forever have within somebody's account a tag that is meaningful and useful, you could tag them and change the design of that form every year to tag them with joined in 2021. Join 2021, join 2019, 2020, things like that. And that's all great information that starts to build in. And when we talk about the greater topic of batch billing, the place where that could come into a valuable spot again is a lot of congregations have a policy where for the first 5 years you're getting a building assessment. That gets a little hard to track, right? Because when you're sitting here doing batch billing and you're trying to figure out who to bill for that dues assessment, well, if you tag them, whether it's through the form or manually when they joined with the year that they joined, well, now you have a very simple way to decide who gets that $1,000 a year building campaign assessment. And when you're doing your batch billing process, you can include people with tags, and the tags that you're choosing are joined in 2020, joined in 2018, joined in 2019, whatever the years are that are within the window. So hopefully that's given you some value around the topic of forms, but forms themselves do not create any sort of batch billing process. They can create a single transaction, or they can put people into the system in a way that they're available to be built. Any other questions?
I want to apologize because I missed the beginning, so it's possible that this is repetitive, and if it is, just shut me down. I can.
That's cool.
Later. So
who am I speaking with first? Identify yourself.
My name is Kayla.
Kayla, nice to meet you.
How do you see batch billing interacting with the voluntary pledge model and fundraising efforts?
Poorly.
Yeah,
so that's a great question, and it's a good one to follow Beth's conversation about forms. Forms would be a much better way to handle voluntary giving, because
that's what we're doing, and we're giving the option of doing a 3% increase and stuff like that to build up our fundraising. But I just I like the idea of batch billing, but I just don't know that the one size fits all.
Yeah, no doubt. That's sort of the power of that model, of the voluntary giving model, is, is that the data is that it's producing better than just boxing people into $600 or $1,200 or $1,800, and it makes it work better overall. But of course, because it's a variable, it's not very well suited to batch billing, unless there was some sort of minimum or something like that. So if you were to wait until everybody has completed their batch billing, their voluntary giving process, say, the form is out there and alive and ready until the end of the month of July. Going back to this idea of tagging people, we could tag people that have participated in the voluntary giving form, and then we can circle back to the batch billing process and run a search on people in a certain category by member or account or billing type, and skip the people with the tag that have already completed the voluntary giving form and hit them with the basic assessment. So that potentially could be, a way of doing that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
There were some questions in the chat from Shomayim accounts that were earlier while you were speaking.
All right. Crystal, you are the best. Got your video on the whole time. You're helping me co-run this session. Crystal is hired. Watch out. Which congregation are you from? Watch out, guys. I'm about to recruit her onto our team. Yes, I'm hearing you again. Tried to resend my account. Can you send us the link for reversal reports? Sure. What I can do is, and you've given me your email address, so I'll send you an email after the session. The nice thing about, we're getting off on tangents, but I think it's all valuable. One of the nice things about ShulCloud that you should be aware of is that pretty much anywhere you get to when it comes to navigating and lists and filtering and, specific things, If you watch closely, certainly on the list side, when you're running accounts, the URL keeps changing. And a lot of your reports and the settings there within, like if you load your account screen and then you drill down to certain account types, it keeps changing what's in the URL, and you can bookmark that kind of stuff. So I will be in touch with you, Shemayim Accounts, and find out exactly what it is that you're looking for. And what I'll be able to do is navigate to that same report or list on my site and just copy and paste everything after our domain and send that to you, because that's going to be universal across the entire ShulCloud system. So admin / report / open balances, whatever it is that we got, that's how I'll be able to share you a quick link. Tova, okay. Shemayim Accounts has a name. Thank you, Tova. All right, any other questions? We have Amanda. Send us a copy of this. Absolutely, I will publish a video of this session, so we'll send that out, and I'll be available for any follow-up questions. And this is the part where webinars either end on a strong point or they totally fizzle out and become awkward and the attendees number starts to drop off. So I'm going to give it like 5 seconds. If anybody wants to speak up or ask a question, that's great. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you all. Look at that, Crystal, you're our co-host. You're getting thank yous. I'm going to thank everybody for their time and encourage you to be in touch if we can help with anything else. ShulSource.com is the site. I will send a follow-up email with a link to the video. And I wish you all a tremendous amount of success. We're obviously navigating pretty uncharted times with all of our virtual congregations and services and things like that. A strong back office is a really important way to keep your congregation's financials stable. So if this helps you in any way, shape, or form, I'm glad to have been a part. Thank you so very much, and have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Take care.